Speaking of Taiwan, I imagine a Chinese invasion, a successful invasion of Taiwan, would have a big impact on the security of India. What kind of support is India giving to Taiwan, or what do you think they should be doing to defend Taiwan from a Chinese invasion?
Look, I can only say that on the record, India is giving nothing. But when I go to Taipei, and I have the privilege of meeting President Tsai whenever I'm in Taipei, well, she smiles very broadly and she refuses to answer any question about what India is doing or whatever. And when I talk to our leadership, they also smile very broadly and they refuse to give any answer. So probably they believe that, I'm not smart enough to understand an answer or whatever it is, but both sides are smiling. I'm happy to see that. So as far as Taiwan is concerned, well, the one important thing that's going to be a hit is chip making. The Chinese want Taiwan because of computer chips, because of the Taiwanese tech industry. Taiwan, Japan, and the United States have basically made China the artificial intelligence powerhouse that is there, that is capable of challenging them. They have made that, especially the Taiwanese. And now all three realize that mistake. So, as far as India is concerned, if Taiwan is looking very much at India, in fact, there's an idea of Taiwanese tech companies coming into India in a big way, and chip making being a very important factor. The entire knowledge industry in the democracies will be affected if Taiwan is taken over. I can assure you. So this first island chain will be breached. And more importantly, the entire credibility of the American defense system will be breached. That's what's happened in Afghanistan. Yes, soldiers leaving Afghanistan, I fully support. US troops are not needed there. I know the Afghan people, they don't like to see any foreigner there. But to remove logistical support from the Afghan National Army and from the Afghan Air Force was to tell them to commit harakiri. What was Joe Biden thinking when he did that? Was he even thinking at all? And that has created a doubt in the minds of every single person from, let us say, west of India, from Afghanistan right up, if I may say so, to the Middle East and the Gulf countries. Not Israel, fortunately, because I think they have a special relationship, but barring Israel, about the reliability of the US alliance. And therefore, they're now flirting very openly with the Sino-Russian alliance. They're flirting openly with it because they're afraid. And the Russians, at least, they stood by Assad. And they basically got him out of the ditch in which he was being thrown in. And the Chinese have also been standing by whatever, you don't like the regimes they're supporting, but they're supporting it openly. They've gone and signed a $400 billion deal with Iran. $400 billion. In our case, in my view, mistakenly, we stopped buying oil from Iran. We have put our Chabahar port, which we are developing with Iran, at risk. And Chabahar is the only access that we have, because Pakistan has blocked access to Central Asia and Afghanistan by land and rail. Iran is crucial for that access, and we should not have stopped buying, Iranian oil. Fortunately, our relations have become much better now. We had multiple visits by our foreign minister. Their ministers have come here. So I think we are repairing some of that damage. Very few countries, I would like to say, want to be dominated. And certainly, I think even the countries that are closest to China, even Russia, for example, Donald Trump was not entirely speaking through his cap when he was talking about Russia. The reality is that the Russians have been, in a sense, by default, have had to go into the Chinese camp. And today they are empowering Chinese tech. And in 3 or 4 years, it'll be too late. It'll be irreversible. After a point, geopolitical shifts become irreversible except in the very long term. And that's what's happening between Russia and China. So in our case, we should certainly withdraw from the defense sector where Russia is concerned. And we should move more heavily with the Americans. I've been saying that openly, that we should not have been buying this S-400 system. We should have encouraged Lockheed and Boeing to set up in India. And I think that, of course, will happen. At the same time, we may go ahead with S 400, and I don't think we're going to get too much of sanctions because I think, frankly, that seems to be, realization seems to have come as to why, Russia is not a reliable partner, because every day the Russians are showing how, frankly, how much, how linked they are to China from the point of view of security. And we're linked to China, you're linked to the Wahhabis, who are their allies. Let's face it, you know. So are even the most pro-Russian people in India, and there are a lot of them, especially who still believe this is the Soviet Union and not Russia. And the Soviet Union and India had a very cozy relationship. Russia is a very commercial relationship, but that romanticism is going away. But I'd again like to point out the India US alliance is not going to be like the Japan US, Germany US, UK US, or alliances like that. It is going to be sui generis. There was no real alliance between China and America, but there was a de facto understanding. And both of them were on one page in weakening the Soviet Union. Let's admit that. The Chinese were very useful and very helpful, and the Americans were hyper useful and hyper helpful in developing China. But in the same way, we don't need an understanding; we need an alliance with the Americans, because it's Cold War 2.0, and that is what the Chinese are worried about. That we will do what they did during Cold War 1.0, which is basically take sides and take advantage of that. And that is what we need to do. And that is where I think, events dealing with China may ultimately compel us to do. But I think it will be because of China's efforts, somewhat bullying, rash, and clumsy efforts to block it. So, this is the point. China will miscalculate. Wars are caused through miscalculation. And as I said, I see a large, if I may say so, whiff of 1930s Europe that's happening in my continent today. I see the same lack of understanding of the other side, the same determination, ruthlessness, the same, I think, what the Germans call Gleichschaltung. That again, I think it translates into coordination. Everything was coordinated to a purpose. And ultimately, the guarantor was the Wehrmacht, the German army. And because of the alternate reality in which that psychotic leader of Germany lived in, the most talented people in the world, the Jewish community, was persecuted and almost eliminated. In fact, that was the end of the war for Hitler, because that was the most talented community in Germany. And if they had been part of Germany, as almost all of them wanted to be, there would have been an immense force multiplier. This man did the most horrible thing possible and denuded the world of some of the world's finest talent. But apart from that, he invaded, and finally, about 30 million people had to die before he was brought to heel. The more we delay, the more lives are going to be lost. But I fear, frankly, a large number of lives are going to be lost because as of now, I don't see, reality challenging alternate reality anytime soon.